Las cosas que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. Las cosas que necesito en la vida ya están aquí. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathered wings. I am free, free as a bird now, with my feathered wings.
Oh, there we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Camino Cafe. I'm so happy that you are here. I am the host, Leigh Brennan, and if you've been listening, you know that I love talking to pilgrims. And I have a few announcements that I wanted to make before we get started. First of all, I wanted to let everyone know that we do have a couple of sponsors right now, and I want to make sure that you check out their work because they're very, very helpful. The first one is Spanish for the Camino, and that's with Maria Seco. I've been studying with Maria for a while, and Maria has just a fantastic concept of really giving people a chance to learn a little more Spanish so that they can communicate a little more while they are on their Camino with a little more confidence. And so anyway, check out her workbooks. I think you'll really love working with her. You can do individual lessons. She offers some group lessons. It's just wonderful stuff. So check that out, Spanish for the Camino. And then also we have Michelle Lessard, who runs Camino Concierge, and she is all the time posting wonderful things. She has a great blog with tons and tons of tips for pilgrims that are thinking about taking the walk. Also, if you are listening to our podcast, you know that you just heard the intro song by Jackson Maloney, and Jackson is also a pilgrim, and he has a new album out called Dharma Farm. So I hope you will check it out. I love his music, and I think you will as well. And exciting news at the Camino Cafe, we had our first video that kind of went a little virtual, I guess, which excites me as a podcaster, but more importantly, excites me for the pilgrims that were involved in that interview. And that is Dominique and Ray from Casa Banderas. And they are getting ready to reopen and hosting their first pilgrims. They kind of tried to have a soft opening when COVID was starting to happen. And, we all know what happened there, but they are on their way back. They will be hosting pilgrims. So I hope that you will check out Casa Banderas. Ray and Dominique are fantastic. If you haven't watched their video yet or listened on the podcast, I hope that you will check out their interview because they are a fantastic couple from California, and they just made this huge move. And it's really exciting to watch what they're doing. So obviously it's resonating with a lot of people. So I hope you will also check out that interview if you haven't yet. And I am so excited about who we have here with us today. And we have Faith and Nate from the Pilgrim House in Santiago. They are also expats from the US, pilgrims, and they have opened a really cool place in Santiago. And for many of you that have listened to the Camino Cafe or know much about me, you'll know that I feel it's very important to spend some time in Santiago. I feel it's really important to begin that post-processing of what's just happened on the Camino. And I'm really excited about what Faith and Nate are offering here to pilgrims. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about their Camino and about what they're doing and kind of get an update. I know a lot of us are very anxious about should we be walking right now? What's going on in Spain? So we'll touch a little bit upon that. And before we get started with them, I just want to say we have some big surprise announcements that are going to be coming soon from the Camino Cafe that I can't wait to share. So keep listening. I think you're going to be excited about what's going on. So Faith and Nate, thank you for being patient through those introductions and announcements. Welcome to the Camino Cafe. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Well, you're welcome. Now, you guys are in the U.S. right now. You've been visiting family and probably doing some things, but you guys are heading back to Santiago soon, or what's going on there?
Yeah, we'll head back September 8th. We'll be in Spain September 9th. And Right now our team is just holding the fort, and welcoming in pilgrims. And they did some events for St. James Day that were a lot of fun from all reports. So yeah, we're here and they're there, and Pilgrim House is open.
Excellent. Yeah, I've been noticing some of the great posts. Your Instagram posts have been looking so wonderful, and a lot of fun events, especially around St. James Day. So that's really exciting. So let's talk a little bit about, first off, you are pilgrims, you're Camino pilgrims, and I think you've also walked some other pilgrimages as well. I listened to a little bit of an interview you did with Ivar. So let's just kind of go back in time and kind of catch everyone up. How did you even get started with pilgrimages in the first place?
Yeah, and I'll share a bit of a story. I'll, stop me if I'm going too long.
Okay.
But yeah, so this really starts for me and Faith, both of us, in our college years. This is back in the late 90s.
Okay.
And I was involved in a program through college. I was actually backpacking Europe with a backpack, and staying in youth hostels and just spending time with travelers, and that wouldn't be a traditional pilgrimage, so to speak, but I think in experience it was, for me, a pilgrimage type experience, in the sense that I found it very spiritual. It was a lot of personal growth, a lot of getting to know other travelers and hearing where they're at in their journeys, just the openness that comes with people who are traveling for a long time. And just a space that I really, really enjoy being in, is what I kind of discovered. And so Faith and I were on that program together. That's how we met and got to know each other. We spent some time after graduating college, about 6 months, working in youth hostels in Amsterdam, kind of furthering that community, being in that culture or subculture of travelers, and just really liking that space. But after that, it's, had college loans, needed to get a job, pay off loans, and work on getting started. So we got married, started a family. We kind of had that eye towards, it'd be great to get back to Europe someday, and didn't really have a clear vision for what that looked like. And we, at some point, it was the right time, and we started looking for opportunities, and we came across an organization that had a team of people who had started a cafe in Santiago. So if people had long history with the Camino, they may or may not remember Terre Cafe. It's come and gone now. It was quite a while ago. But that's really what the path that led us to the Camino. Like I hadn't, in all those years of traveling, I hadn't heard of the Camino, hadn't learned, didn't know what it was about. And so as we started researching this place called Santiago and this pilgrimage of the Camino, it became pretty clear, like, this is everything we love about traveling, but it's a little more condensed, because I love that spiritual aspect of the Camino journey. I love how it just changes people, how people are open to each other. There's just a big part of that I love. And the Camino just has that in droves, where, other forms of travel like backpacking, they have it, but it's just a little more hidden, a little more underground, whereas it's up front and center in the Camino. And so that's actually the path that led us there. So believe it or not, we moved there before we even walked an actual Camino.
Okay.
But we'd had that traveling in our background. And so, and we have both done Caminos since we moved. It's been everything we thought it would be, and well worth it. So that's kind of maybe the short version of how we ended up. Do you want to add any other?
No, good job.
Yeah, I love this. I love that it's a unique story. So this is great. So let's dive into this. So what year was it, and then you decided to then move to Spain?
So we moved to Spain in 2007.
Okay.
Finally opened up Pilgrim House in 2014. And the first 4 years in Spain, we actually lived in La Coruña and partnered with a church there to get our association started, get all that paperwork set. And then once we moved to Santiago, I think like 2011, our association was established. And then we started doing fundraising, recruiting, having more teammates join us, and looking for a place. And at that point, we were still thinking that we wanted to open up an albergue for pilgrims in Santiago, because that's what we knew. And slowly, through a lot of counsel too, it was decided that we would open up a welcome center, a day center. And at that point, our team was like only 3 people. And so the thought of opening up a hostel, it's a lot of work, and someone has to stay overnight or be on call. And we had little kids at that point. And a welcome center, even though it wasn't our original vision, just felt really right and wise. And I'm so glad we went that way, because we can close up at the end of the day and go home and be with our family. And, the beds, we love being able to offer practical, spiritual, and emotional hospitality, like holistic hospitality. But at that point, the thought of beds would have taken away from our true purpose, which is just to help pilgrims engage with what's ever stirring in their hearts after the pilgrimage. And so anyway, long story short, we landed on a welcome center, and then we started putting that plan into motion. and we finally opened in 2014. So now we've been open 7 years, and it's been good, a great journey.
And I might jump in and give just a bit more context as well.
Okay.
I'm a context guy, so it always helps me. And I think it'll help base our story a little bit, because you might hear us mention an organization or teammates and not know what that means. And so,
yeah, I wanted to ask you, what's the name of the organization?
the name of the organization is called One Collective. And so we are actually employees of One Collective. It's a nonprofit, faith-based nonprofit based out of the US that on the whole does community development in different places around the globe. So what Pilgrim House does is maybe a little bit unique within who we are. But that's who we work for, and it's a great organization. We love it. We wouldn't be where we are doing what we are without them. We wouldn't have the great people around us and our team without them. That's a big part of our story, and they're ultimately the ones who helped us find Santiago and kind of get started in the first place, because we showed up and we're just saying, here's who we are, here's what we're interested in. It's kind of loose, and they're like, well, hey, we have these people in Santiago. They just opened this cafe. Maybe you could do an albergue with them. And we're like, I don't know, but let's look into it. And then we look into it, and it's just like, wow, it's everything we could have asked for. And so, that's our unique story about how, there's a lot that goes into the details of that, but that's how we are able to kind of make a living and do this the way we do. It's because of an organization like that is behind us and supports us. And I know it's not for everybody, for people who might be thinking about this type of life. It's not for everybody. There are a million ways to perhaps try to figure that out. But for us, that's been a really good story, and it's worked really well.
Figure what out?
Just living in Spain and running, trying to find a life among the Camino.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that it was a 7-year journey from the time that you first started living there until you ended up in Santiago, or you came to Santiago in 2011. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So what was it about that time frame? What did you learn during that? Were there some unexpected things? Because I think, when we're all walking the Camino as pilgrims, right? You see that for sale sign on the albergue, and it's like, oh, maybe I could come and do this. This is really fun. I want to open a place. And it looks like a very dreamy, easy thing to make happen. And, from what I'm learning, speaking to people, it's not so easy. So not that it's not figure outable,
right?
But there's also a path with this. So I wonder what you could share with us about what you've learned during that for those pilgrims that are considering possibly moving to Spain.
I like to say that we would have never stepped foot in Spain if we had known it would take 7 years to finally open up something.
Yeah. Looking
back, I like to say that God gave us the luxury of time to plan things out really well. And so we would have never chosen that path. Hang on. We would have never chosen that path, but
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We hope you're all right.
I just wanted to highlight that. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
But looking back, we had the 4 years in La Coruña to learn Spanish. We came without any Spanish, and we didn't even know how to drive stick shift. So even like things like that, we were able to learn Spanish. The church really helped us establish our paperwork and get our association going, which gave us then the legal platform to be able to, rent Pilgrim House and open up a bank account. And so as the process unfolded, we went to the bank to open up our bank account, and they said, well, we need your constitution. We need your tax number, tax ID, not our personal tax ID, but the tax ID of the association. You need to have this agreement that you signed in front of the notary that you would open a bank account. And we were like, we've got that. And so all those years helped us get all of those trámites, all of those steps finalized that you really need if you're going to open something as a legal entity, not as a person, but as a legal entity, which is the way we wanted to do it. And so I really think we had the luxury of time to plan things out really well, really solidly. Once we got open, we just hit the ground running because there were no loose pieces that we still need to wrap up. We were like solidly able to then just focus on what we wanted to do. And we were able to recruit, for example, Anne, our business manager, who was wonderful because she just knows what she's doing, and we would not have. And we came in as Americans, we thought, oh, we'll have an albergue up and running in 2 years, no problem, because you can do that in America. But in Spain, we can't. Like, we signed the lease for our place May 1st, 2013. And then it took another 8 months before our building permits were approved. You're not supposed to touch a place until the building permit is approved. So it just basically sat empty. I mean, we had rented it, but it sat empty until the building permits were approved. And then we could finally, do the renovations we wanted. And we finally opened in July of 2014. So there's just a lot of things that we just had to honor the process. One of our values was to honor the laws of Spain and to do things really, really well, and not take shortcuts. And we were able to do that. Like I said, we wouldn't have chosen that path to be so long, but the way the process unfolded, because our value was just to honor the laws of Spain and to do things well, the process ended up being quite long. But looking back, we have no regrets about that. It was just the way it needed to be, and it was fine. So
It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Camino journey, right? You can't rush the stages. You have to go through some process. And as much as we all want to get to the end, there are these stages that we have to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would add a couple things to that. One would be just, if anyone's thinking about doing this, don't assume it's going to take 7 years. I think that's our unique story. And I think that's on the extreme end. I don't think that.
Sure.
There are many other factors that went into that. We had our fourth child in one of those years that slowed us down. The organization, we were looking for teammates and the right people to come in. And so there were things that we were slowing down. So that's kind of the one thing I would say. It doesn't have to take that long, but it's a great story to illustrate that it takes patience and it takes kind of dedication. You got to be kind of have the ability to say, I'm dedicating myself to this, to whatever it takes to get it done.
Yeah.
Because it's not probably going to be easy.
And I'm a very type A person. I'm used to making things happen. I can make things happen, but Spain rubs that completely out of you because you can't make things happen because the person you need is, on vacation or, and you have to honor that. You just have to respect that and respect your limits and kind of go with the flow. So now I'm much more mellow, go with the flow. I just receive whatever the day brings. And if I can get something done, that's great. But if I need to wait, that's great too. And so you kind of do your best to do what you need to do. But then at some point, if it's out of your control because you're waiting, I've learned that that's okay. And I'm at peace with it now. So it's been very refining for me as well, like the Camino.
The other big picture piece I would throw on that is that, one thing that time gave us, it gave us time to adapt to culture. And that's a big deal. Like there's all the administrative nuts and bolts stuff you got to take care of. And that's a process in and of itself, but understanding the language better, we spoke no Spanish when we arrived, and we didn't know the culture. Right. And so that time, that one of the benefits of that is we got to know people, we made friends, we learned a bit more about how the way people think, about how the way the systems operate, how they think about the systems, how do we manage that, and so there's a real benefit to thinking if you're planning a move like this. Don't think just in terms of nuts and bolts about what are the paperwork and what are the legal things that need to get done. You need to know all that. You need to get that figured out as you go, but realize that kind of in addition or along with that, you've got language and culture that is a really big part of that process. And you can't really fast track that. There's not course you can take, there's no degree. It takes living through it, and some of it's hard and some of it's great. And some, it's the whole ball of wax. But that's to me a big part of that journey.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's very interesting. I want to just touch on your Caminos. So you open up and then you both end up walking, even though you've backpacked all over Europe and all this stuff, you then set out on Camino journeys. So which routes have you done? And
so Nate was the first. We actually walked before we opened. Nate walked from Sarria to Santiago in 2008. I walked Sarria to Santiago in 2009. and then I think I was next. And then I walked León to Ponferrada in 2014. And then I've also done the Ingles in, I think, 2017. So because we have
Wow.
kids, we haven't actually walked together, and we haven't been able to take longer journeys.
Sure.
But we have tried to get out. So yeah, those have been my 3 times.
So
when you've had
I had that first one in 2009.
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
Saudi in. And then my next one and most recent one was I did 2 weeks on the Camino Norte. So started in and finished in Santander. And that feels very recent, but we were just talking about the other day, and it was already 6 years ago. And so that's kind of shocking to me. But what we found is because we're open and because we have kind of the life pattern we have, it's actually kind of hard to find time to get out in the Camino. And so we have, and we plan to keep doing it because it's important to us to stay connected to that experience, so we can stay connected to the pilgrims. And so we're due, like everyone else on the globe, we're due, right? That's
yeah, right. I mean, I'm hearing your story and I'm thinking, how dreamy is this that you guys can just, go out and, in 2009, I walked this portion, and then I did this one, and then I did that. Like, that sounds amazing. But also knowing that you are running the Pilgrim House and serving pilgrims, you can't just go out and close up shop and walk for, 30 or 40 days. So, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about if I'm a pilgrim right now walking the Camino, and I arrive in Santiago and I see the Pilgrim House. Describe to our viewers and listeners, what would our likely experience be upon arrival and meeting both of you?
Sure. And we do have a team. So, we all take turns working in Pilgrim House, but you would come in the door and we would hopefully give you a very nice, hearty welcome and just celebrate with you that you finished the Camino. Or even if you didn't finish, like if you got injured or something happened and you were still in Santiago, you would get a warm welcome. And then we would just invite you to use the space as you needed to. If you need to be alone, we have a great back room and it's been designed for people for solitude. So there's a back room and a patio that's very comfortable, very, I like to say soothing, but not everyone needs a soothing place, just a place to be alone. If you need to talk to someone, our staff we've all walked the Camino. And so we're able to connect with you and just ask you questions to help you process through the Camino. We have a front room that's a living area that's more communal. Then we have a kitchenette where, we might invite you to have coffee or tea and just sit for a bit and chat. We also have different tools that you can take with you to help you debrief. So we have a debriefing guide which is just 1 page of questions. And it's not meant to be done in Santiago. It's meant to just be done slowly, even as you go home, as you process and think through your Camino. We have an end of the Camino letter that one of our teammates found in Alexander Shaya's book, where you write yourself a letter and then seal it. And then, once you're home for a month or 2, you open it back up. We also have, I'm trying to think. We have a few other things that I can't think of right now. So we really wanted Pilgrim House to be a holistic place, like I said, of hospitality, with tools and resources to help you reflect on the Camino, with both community-oriented and solitude-oriented spaces. And we really want it to be an oasis in town, because people get to Santiago and they can be very disoriented by the bustle, the busyness, the tourism. And we really wanted Pilgrim House to be a continuation of the Camino spirit, where you are with fellow pilgrims and you are able to just take that time, especially before you go home, to, end this chapter well and then go home. So.
Well, you kind of forgot too that we also do a number of basic services to help pilgrims, which is a big part. When pilgrims are in Santiago and trying to wrap up their journey and figure out going home, there are certain things that they just have to take care of. And so we do our best to fill some of those gaps and help those that can't find help elsewhere in the city. That's kind of non-defined role that we can play. But we do, in terms of very clear things we do, we'd have a laundry service, we print boarding passes, you can leave your bag with us for the day or a couple days if you need to, that kind of thing. And I think that gives a bigger picture that we'll try to help a pilgrim wherever they're at. Like, what do you need? We're going to try to help you figure that out if we can, whether it's here or elsewhere, we'll try to get you sorted. And that can sometimes then open the doors for the more relational connections. All right, well, you've dealt with the practical needs. If you want, we're then here to engage you in a more relational manner once you get those off of your mind. And so it's
excellent.
Another aspect of what we do.
Yeah.
So what hours are you typically open? You're open 7 days a week, I think.
We're not open 7 days a week. We're open, we close on Sundays to give everyone a day of rest. And then we close on Wednesdays for meetings. So we're open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And depending on the season, our hours vary. Right now we're open 10 to 6. And then sometimes during low season, we might be open 10 to 4. Other times we've been open 11 to 8. And then we usually close in January for a few weeks just to give, just for a winter break, basically. So.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as, go ahead.
As I said, the key would be if you're planning to come or about ready to arrive in Santiago, if you want to know when we're open, check our website, check the social media. Like, we keep those hours up to date because we do change them depending on staffing levels, depending on the pilgrim numbers. All sorts of things affect that. So,
but we're always closed Sunday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that's
always closed Sunday and Wednesday. Okay, and I will have the links to all of your website, your Facebook page, and Instagram. So anyone that's watching or listening, just check out the show notes, and you can connect with the Pilgrim House. And I guess in listening to you, we just interviewed John Shaya or Alexander Shaya about his book, Returning from the Camino. And so I really love that you're incorporating his idea about the letter after arrival. It's so fantastic. And, just thinking about what you're doing there, how did you come up with this? Like, this was a unique idea. There was nothing like what you're doing in Santiago until you started it. So how did you come up with this concept of what you're doing? Because it sounded like originally you were thinking the albergue, evolved into be the Pilgrim House instead. So what started that idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think that story starts with the fact that, the only way we could think of in the early days of to serve, because we love hospitality, we love being with pilgrims. So the only way we could think of in the early days was, well, the albergue is the obvious choice for that, right? Got a place to stay, you can maybe do a meal, like you kind of have that community. And so that's really where we started, which I think a lot of people do, and that's a logical place to start. But for us, what that meant is we were really looking for a way to create space to really engage with pilgrims relationally, to be present with them, to be able to share stories. That part of the Camino is the rich part, right? And that's the part that we wanted to be able to engage in. And so as we were kind of working on vision and plans and details, it was really more of a practical push that said, we don't think we have the financial or the human resources right now to pull off the albergue in Santiago. That's part of the thing too. Santiago's not cheap, right? To do it in Santiago is way more expensive than doing it in a little village along the way. And so it was really more practical details that pushed us. We looked, well, how else can we serve pilgrims? How else can we have this hospitality space if we can't do that? And so we thought, well, we'd scale down and do something a little bit smaller scale. And at the time we thought it would be temporary. We thought, well, we'll do this for a few years, get our experience, get our feet wet, and maybe we'll eventually then expand into doing an albergue. And so we essentially, in one way to think about Pilgrim House, we talk about this all the time, is we hope it's like a really great albergue, just without the beds. That's really like, it has that feel. People ask, oh, they have beds. Oh, no, we don't. But, I understand why you think that. And so it really, I would say, was pushed by practical needs. And then once we got into it, for what we want to be doing, it turns out this is a really great model. It helps us stay engaged with pilgrims, because if you talk to hospitaleros who do 2 weeks of being hospitalero on the Camino, that's a really good experience, but it's also really exhausting. Like to be in hospitality every day, 7 days a week, all year long, it just, we all have limits to our capacity to give, whether it's energy, emotions, you name it. And so it's really, really hard work. honestly, in the end, if you're doing something like that. And so
Yeah.
this pattern of Pilgrim House that we have with the rhythm we have with we're there 5 days a week, we have a team of people so we can share the load. We have everything we want in terms of engaging with pilgrims and providing hospitality and helping them without the added pressures of beds and business and, you know, that side of the hospitality. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it can be a really wonderful way to serve pilgrims and help pilgrims. But in our case, this has worked out really well that we have all of that without that extra effort or oomph.
Yeah.
And we have time, instead of focusing on these other things, to be with you when you come in. Like, where our purpose is to be with you as a pilgrim. And so if we're off, you know, crunching the books or changing beds or managing, you know, other people, you would have less time and energy to actually be fully present with the pilgrim. And this allows us to be fully present. So
I love how you honored your self-care and saying, okay, we're going to be closed 2 days a week, you know, and here's why, because, you know, we've got our own selves to take care of so that we can better serve the pilgrims. And I love how you found a way to creatively service the pilgrims without having to do the traditional burger, because I think you're so right. If you were so focused on making sure the linens were washed and getting ready for the dinner and all of that, you know, you wouldn't have time to speak to the pilgrims. And so you wouldn't have really been fulfilling the dreams that it sounds like you guys had, which was on the relational side of serving pilgrims. So I love that you found a creative way to do that. That is really cool.
Yeah.
What would you say, what has been your best day? You know, when you look back since the time you've been open and you think, wow, that right there was that's why we did this. You know, was there an experience or something that happened with pilgrims, or, you know, where you're just like, yeah, so glad we did this?
I would have to say, because we started backpacking as college students, and now we actually have teams of college students that come and walk the Camino and then serve in Pilgrim House. And I love being a manager on duty when 2 of the college kids are there in the summer and watching them engage with pilgrims. Because, you know, they've walked the Camino, the college kids, we make them walk the Camino first. And, and then to see them connecting with usually, you know, maybe older pilgrims, but they're on the same level. You know, everyone's a pilgrim. And they're able to show them hospitality and connect and learn from the pilgrims as well. I just love that, because that's like a full circle moment for me, you know, being young and having the backpacking experience, but then having the opportunity to host college kids as well and see them serving fellow travelers is really gratifying to me. So I would have to say that those are really fun seasons when we have our college teams in.
Yeah, and I think for me it's and I don't know if there's any one day, but I think there's, you know, a multitude of stories that happen, right? That when you kind of experience them in that day, you're like, this is why I do what I do, and I'm so glad I'm doing what I do. And so it's truly the engagement with the pilgrims who are having that interior journey, right? Because for so many pilgrims, it's a profound interior journey that they're on. And they can be younger, trying to find themselves, trying to find a little bit of purpose. They can be older, trying to deal with kind of the past grief or trauma, or just thinking about what comes next in life. There's so many different points of transition that people are in when they walk, and representing so many different kind of ways to struggle with life, right? What does it mean to be doing this? And the Camino gives you such a great place to do that. And so what I love are those moments when we're offering debriefing, whether it's an actual official debriefing session, or if it's kind of unofficial, just chatting with somebody who's processing, that chance where people are open and they open up and they talk about, you know, what's going on in life and how the Camino has helped them engage that in a different way. And, you know, there are some of those folks that you can tell it's making a difference, right? And to be a small part of that is a really, to me, it's a really fulfilling spot to be. Like, it happens before they get to us. It'll happen after they leave. But for this moment in this place, we're part of that. And that is when those happen. And it's not every day, all the days, but it's frequent enough to say, this is why we do what we do, that we can see change, we can see growth, we can see healing, you know, and those those are gifts. Those are real treats to happen. So yeah, that's to me the kind of what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Well, I love how you're incorporating this debriefing, because Alexander talks about in his book about the importance of having a mentor as you're going through this hero journey of the Camino. And I'm imagining that's what you're debriefing is, kind of giving somebody an opportunity to discuss what they've experienced with folks that have walked the Camino, who understand that it's not just the walk, right? This is a lifelong journey, right? And their Camino, I think that quote's famous for a reason, right? Is that your Camino does not end in Santiago, it's just beginning. And so having that power of having somebody to debrief with, I think would be so powerful. Because, we've been walking and you have all this time to share your story. And then sometimes you get to Santiago and there's no one to talk to anymore, right? Like the whole, eat, walk, sleep, repeat has kind of ended and people are just all over. And I think you were saying too earlier, Faith, that there's a lot going on in Santiago that can be a distraction from what's just occurred.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to have this debriefing with you, do they just show up? How does that happen? Do they have to schedule that?
So every day that we're open, we do a debriefing at 4. So anyone can come earlier in the day and just let us know that they're interested in it for that day. But then if anyone needs like a personal debriefing, or if it doesn't work out at 4, just come in and let us know, because we can do it, maybe in the moment if there's enough staff around, or we can schedule another time. And so helping pilgrims debrief is one of our highest priorities. So we will try to make it happen. But every day at 4 is the time we've set aside for example, for whoever needs to come that day.
Okay.
And that one is usually a group one then, unless you're the only pilgrim around. Yeah. Usually it's a group. If it happens, it could be a group. I should say that.
We are available every day. It doesn't happen necessarily every day because of interest. But the expectation is it could be a group, right? Yeah. I mean, unless you happen to be the only one. And so if you really want a private debriefing session, we will do our best to make that happen. Mm-hmm. You just got to reach out to us and let us know either ahead of time or just pop in and be like, hey, I'd like to do this. Can we find a time to do it? And we might be able to do it in the moment, and we might say, well, let's pick a time and see that time that fits. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So 4:00. So everybody, if you're heading into Santiago soon, know that at 4:00 you can show up, do some debriefing. And I love that, because you might, be treating yourself and staying maybe at a hotel or somewhere more off on your own. But if you want to have someone to talk to, the Pilgrim House is there for you. Let's talk a little bit about how the organization is supported. Is it all donation based, or is the Pilgrim House considered a nonprofit, right? Or okay. Sure. And so
go ahead.
If people watching this are kind of, let's say, I know we have a lot of veteran pilgrims that listen to the Camino Cafe. If they've been there, or they're just hearing first about you and they're like, yeah, this is a really cool concept. How can I support it, first of all? So is there a way for us to support this from afar?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we are, just to kind of expand upon that, we are a nonprofit registered in Spain at Terre Nova, but we are very much connected to our employer, One Collective, right? And so if you really want to be part of what's going on at Pilgrim House and donate in that way, I would say the place to start is our website, pilgrimhousesantiago.com. Mm-hmm. And we have a donate page there that will kind of guide you on where to donate. If you are a U.S. citizen, what we generally prefer is that you donate through One Collective, because that supports us through the organization that has been so critical to us as well. And you'll see that on the website. And if you're not American, we have some ways that you can donate more. But again, that's on the website through PayPal and whatnot. So that would be the way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Terra Nova is the association we set up. So you might see that name. That's our legal entity, Terra Nova, but then Pilgrim House is our first project.
Got it. I always wondered, I didn't understand the Terra Nova part, so now that makes sense. Okay. All right, cool. So, okay, as a pilgrim, and I know, I talk to people all the time that are getting ready to go. You guys are in such a unique situation in that you are seeing people right after arrival in Santiago. So I feel like you guys probably have this wealth of knowledge of, here's the things you shouldn't be taking. Here's the things you should be taking. Here's the crazy things that we see that we want to help you, Pilgrim, be more successful during your walk. So can we shift gears and kind of talk about that? Like if you could pack someone's bag tomorrow, what are 3 or 4 things that you're like, please have this in your bag. It's so important.
I would say, as much as possible, try to keep your pack down to 10% of your body weight. And there are gear guides out there that you can look up, like two outfits, keep them light. Don't wear jeans. Please don't wear jeans. And that niggles me every time I watch The Way to see all of them wearing jeans. I'm like, you can't walk in jeans, even though I love that movie. And just see if trekking poles are a thing for you, because trekking poles really do help with the hilliness of the Camino. And they provide so much help with balance and just taking the load off your feet. And then the other thing I would say is really, really cinch down your waist strap so that your shoulders have that room where they're moving, so that the load isn't on your shoulders. And I know a lot of people know that, but sometimes I see pilgrims walking around town and I literally want to pull their waist strap and hike up their shoulder, the shoulder yoke, so that it sits higher up on them. Because those are the ones I see hobbling with blisters and, not doing well. And so I have to restrain myself from manhandling their backs.
I love it.
So that would be my 3, like trekking poles. See if you could work with them, because they are really, really helpful. Wear your pack correctly, and then just really try to keep your pack light. Like follow the recommendations of everyone else who has been doing this, and really don't bring anything you don't need. So
I honestly don't think I can add anything that any pilgrim ever could tell you, which is you're probably overpacking. You probably have more than you need, and keep it light. There's plenty of resources along the Camino to get what you need. So if you don't have to cart it with you across the globe. Like if there's only a slight chance you might need it, leave it behind. If you need it, either someone else will have it or you'll be able to pick it up somewhere. Like it's not the be all end all. So that would be maybe just advice. And I tend to lean into more of because everyone can get a packing list. There's literally 1,000,001 people out there that can tell you what to pack and how to bring it, and they're really helpful. But I would tend to lean towards give some thought to the interior journey. If you're not like, is this a spiritual journey for you? Think about what that means. Is this, are there spiritual practices you want to do while you're on this? Do you want to journal? How are you going to be purposeful about the interior journey? And not that you have to make it work or make it hard, but be ready with whatever you need to be ready for doing that, to be somewhat purposeful about what you're getting into. And it can be really small, simple things. It's the Camino. You don't have to be complicated or weird. Just something that seems purposeful to you, that will help you kind of tend to the inner part of the journey. And I think that's,
I love that.
Prepare.
I love that you're saying that, Nate, because I feel like on all of the Facebook groups and the forums and whatnot, that people, they're very concerned about their blister prevention, which is important. What stuff should I put in my bag? And then I'm like, oh, but the interior, you're going to have all these other things happening, are you throwing a journal in there and whatnot? I know that I have done a online retreat that you've offered on your website, but I just wonder, I think there are sheets, there maybe are forms on your website too, that maybe someone could print out or take a photo of to help them with their journaling. Am I correct in that? We just put up, our teammate Maggie just developed a pre-Camino reflection guide. So you can download that. That's like a 1-pager. So we have a pre-Camino reflection guide and a post-Camino debriefing guide now. And you can get both of those on our website.
Or you can get the debriefing, the post-Camino debriefing guide in Pilgrim House. Come find us. We'll give you a paper copy, or we'll talk it over. But we do have those available on the website.
Excellent. That is a great resource. Everyone, please check those out. I'll try to make sure I make a separate link for those things as well on the show notes. So before we end, I just want to say you guys probably see some crazy stuff, I'm imagining too. So here's a question for you. what is the luxury item though that you two would put in your backpack that you would always take when you're walking, that people might not think about, but is very particular to you, that you're like, I gotta have that when I walk?
I always bring my Chacos. They're so heavy.
Ah,
The Chaco sandals, they're so heavy.
Yeah.
But they just feel so good at the end of the day. So I must have those. And then, my phone. I know some people really want to disconnect, but I really like taking pictures with my phone and then being able to review them at the end of the day. And this last Camino, I watched more Netflix than I should have, honestly, at the end of the day. But I was kind of grateful too for that time to unwind. But I would not do that. I would not do so much of that again next time. But that was kind of a luxury this time.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't get too into that, the gear. I have a different take on the phone. That is important to me, but more for I think that's basically become my guide. So I'll try to be sensitive to not relying on it too much for,
Yeah.
I like getting away from it a little bit, but it's also really handy to have grounds.com and some of the other resources. So I'm not packing necessarily a physical guidebook anymore, although I do sometimes do that still. Honestly, I would say the pack for me is a really big deal. Like having a pack that fits me and is comfortable is, if you can consider a luxury item, like don't skimp on the pack.
Yeah.
I've had such a good pack for so long, I've kind of forgotten that. But actually, just a few weeks ago, I did just a 3-night wilderness backpacking trip with my brother and sister, and I skimped a little bit on borrowing a pack, and it wasn't a good fit. And I was like, oh, right, I know this, but it's been so long that it makes such a big difference that, it's nice to have a pack that you just know fits, that you can fit well, and it's going to be comfortable and make sure that works for you. So, and to me, that's almost the most important bit, because everything else you can change and buy, and you name it. But that's my bit.
Yeah.
That and good shape.
I was gonna say, is there anything crazy that you've seen someone still arrive with in Santiago that you're like, I can't believe they carried that the whole way?
It's more stories I hear other pilgrims tell, I feel like, than people we actually see, because we're not usually seeing people unpack their bags too often in Pilgrim House. But I remember someone telling me they walked with an Italian pilgrim who walked with their own espresso, like an Italian espresso machine, because coffee was so important to them that they actually had this. That's a winner.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Maybe a hair dryer. I don't know. Hair dryer and like lots and lots of makeup. But I don't want to disparage anyone, who feels the need to do those things on the Camino. Like, it's fine. It's really fine.
Just a lot of weight.
It's just more weight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking on the hair dryer. Would I have liked a hair dryer some mornings when my hair was wet and it was cold out? Absolutely. But I don't want to carry that weight of a hair dryer. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, no disparaging. We all have our luxury thing that we want, right? Or need, depending on the person. Yeah. So I just wonder, Nate and Faith, if I would have met you back in 2007 when you were first moving to Spain, how have you guys changed? How has the experience of walking your Caminos and now running the Pilgrim House, how has this been a part of your transformation as people, as parents, as pilgrims? How are you different?
Question.
That's a really good question. I think, for me, and I think for us, we are kind of the leaders of the project, but we've had teams with us constantly, right? And so I think there's a whole world to that we haven't even touched on today, that I think has been the area that has been the most growth personally, in terms of leading people, in terms of kind of learning from other people, and just doing things like this as a group. It's one thing to do it yourself, but to do it as a group it's a wonderful blessing and a treat. I mean, Pilgrim House, maybe this is a good point to say this, like, we're here, we're talking, and so it's kind of from our perspective, and we may have been the ones that kind of had the idea to get it going, but Pilgrim House is not just Faith and I by a long shot. I mean, we would not have, this place is special, and it wouldn't be if it weren't for all of these people who have worked with us at different points over the years to make it happen.
Yeah.
So you see, because we know the people that have helped us come together, some are still with us, some are not, but we can see the personalities of the different impacts that different teammates have had into the space, and they're wonderful people. And so they're like the gals that are there right now. If you're walking like right now and you go in, you're gonna have a great time. They're great people. But I think that journey of doing it as a group has really changed us to some degree, changed me. I think that's part of it. And I would say more akin to the Camino as a whole, because it's part of doing Pilgrim House, but it's part of being on the Camino. I think there's just something about being with so many people from so many different cultures and backgrounds, and it just, there's something that happens when you spend time in that type of community that it helps change you, right? I mean, you're not the same person you were when you started in a variety of different aspects. And so whether that's spiritual, whether it's relational, whether it's political or emotional, like, I mean, all these things are impacted by the people we spend time with. And so
and like I said before, I was a very type A person, kind of used to getting my way maybe, and now I'm not. Like I'm just more, I have a lot more respect for processes and not rushing, not hurrying. And if you looked at the online retreat, I've really learned, to have more of an unhurried spirit and to just receive whatever the day brings. And even on Camino, to respect my limits. I know now I can't walk more than 20 to 24 kilometers. Otherwise, I'm just done. And so to be able to plan for that and to know myself better has been good. And like Nate said, meeting so many people from all over the world, before you meet so many people, you have a stereotype of what Italians are like, or what French people are like, or Brazilians. And it's not true. Like every person in front of you is unique with their unique story. And to really connect with them is very special, because it breaks down walls to be in such a big melting pot. So I think that's really good globally for people to be able to put themselves in situations where they meet people from all over the place, because there's an exchange of ideas and personalities and cultures where you learn how to respect each other. So I think that's good. But yeah, just as far as personally, I would say some of those like self-care things, respecting limits, doing things that are sustainable, like closing on Sundays and Wednesdays, like you said, and caring for other people, what it means for each person, what your care looks like, because it can be very different, so.
Yeah, great examples. Love that. So we'll end with, what's your dream? Like you've done a lot since opening the Pilgrim House. When you guys sit back and say, someday I hope we're doing this, or I hope it looks like that. So if we kind of go out maybe 5 years from now, what would it look like to you? Would there be anything you would change, add?
That is a really good question.
You have good questions.
You do. I think, and I don't even know if this would be a 5-year thing, but it may not even end up being us. But we've talked for years with different teammates and kind of visioneered about the future. And I do think there's space in and around Santiago for kind of a more retreat style processing space for those that have the time to actually spend 2 days, 3 days, 5 days in a retreat setting that they can focus a bit more. So it's some of what we do, but a bit more focused, right? And we may be able to grow to some point to be able to do that. We're not there yet, but that's something we could do. So that would be one direction. And I think the other area that we're beginning to think about, just to give a snapshot as to what we're doing as a team at Santiago, we have some new team members that are actually not working with Pilgrim House, but they're in Santiago, and we're trying to figure out how to do more community development in Santiago and help people in Santiago, find and address, what are the strengths? How do we do them better? What are the needs? How can we do that? And so I think as that grows, I would love to see ways for us to be able to connect pilgrims to local Santiago people better in ways that are good, good and healthy and rich. And so I don't know what that looks like at all. It's more of a general idea, but I think there's more that can be done, because I think pilgrims come and go, right? And then pilgrims can be, when you live in Santiago, and I've lived this, pilgrims can become background. It's like they're part of the environment. Right? There are just so many of them. They're just part of what happens. There's not always a lot of local engagement. So if we can help that connect better, that would be great. That would be my thought. How about you?
Really cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I think it's good.
All right. Well, wow. I there's so many more questions I want to ask you, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And I just really want to thank you, Nate and Faith, for first off coming and talking about what you're doing, but also for the work that you're doing for the pilgrims. I think this is really just an amazing idea. And the fact that you've pulled it off and you're providing a really unique service that I think is very much needed. As we all know, as past pilgrims, there's a lot to process after that journey. And I'm thinking having such a lovely couple as yourself and all the volunteers that are helping you, how great it would be to walk through your doors and know that that support is there. So thank you for doing that for the Camino community. I think it's really cool. Yeah. And I can't wait to come and meet you the next time I'm in Santiago. And I just encourage everyone to check out the Pilgrim House. The links will be on the show notes. And thank you for everyone watching and listening. And if you feel so moved today by what you've heard, check out the donation page, because this is a donation thing, and it's a really great service. So anyway, thank you, everyone. Nate and Faith, you're welcome back anytime to the Camino Cafe to talk about things you have going on. Keep us in the loop if you have something new going on, and we'll be sure to get the word out for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And come visit people.
En la vida ya están aquí. I am free as a bird now, with my feathered wings. I am free as a bird now, with my feathered